Here in this chapter, we read about the exact age of industrialization. What were the new inventions and discoveries that actually gave birth to real industrialization? What were the problems which came up because of industrialization? And this seemed to have great effect on both the Asian, African and also the European countries. Of course, the Asian and the African countries became victims of industrialization, whereas the European countries became the countries which started getting maximum profit out of industrialization. But before I start with the chapter, let me give you the meaning of the new terms and concept of the chapter. Here, the first word, innovation. Innovation means a newly produced thing, something which has been invented now. So, when you do something which has not happened earlier, it could be an invention, a discovery or a making of a thing or an idea is actually an innovation. And when industrialization came, there had to be a lot of innovations. Next is a guild. Guild is in fact an association of craftsmen, of traders, of merchants. That is to say, when industrialization set in, there were people belonging to various professional groups who wanted to safeguard their interest, who wanted to earn more profit, who wanted to get maximum relief from the government. So, they started making groups for themselves. That is, the merchants had a separate group, the bankers had a separate group, the traders had a separate group. So, that group and association of similar professional people was called as guild. Next is stapler. Stapler was a person who used to staple or who used to sort out wool. He used to see that which wool belonged to which category and he used to sort it out. Next is fuller. Now, what is a fuller? Fuller was again a person who used to gather the cloth by pleating it. So, this means whether it is the stapler or the fuller, they were all involved in the textile industry. Therefore, the textile industry seemed to have reached a boom in the age of industrialization. Next is carding. The process of making a fiber is called as carding. Next is tanning. The word tanning is actually related to leather. So, when you convert the raw hide, that is the raw leather that you have, the raw hide into leather, that's called as tanning, and tanning is done in a tannery. Next is food processing. Food processing is a process or a technique by which you chop and mix food and bring out something new. That is, it could be a jam or a juice. Next is Victorian Britain. Now, Victorian Britain is that period of Britain when Queen Victoria was the reigning queen. That is, when she was ruling Britain, that period is called as Victorian Britain. We continue with the new terms in the next clipping. In the previous clipping, we saw certain new terms which are associated with the manufacturing industry. Like we saw the word carding, fuller, stapler, and now we are going to see those terms, the effect of which seems to be because of industrialization. The first word which we have to see in this clipping is vagrant. Vagrant is a person who does not have a permanent home or who does not have a permanent job. That is a person who seems to be highly insecure and unstable is a vagrant. Next is brewery. Brewery is where the beer is brewed, that is a brewery. And the process involved in brewing is infusion, boiling and fermentation. Can you name a brewery? I am sure all of you can. Next is company officials. Company officials were those officers who were working in India on behalf of the East India Company. Those were the company officials, because the East India Company, the trading company which had come to India, was called as a company. That is, before the Britishers took over India, it was the East India Company which was managing Indian affairs, and the officers who were connected to this company were called as company officials. Next is bourgeois. The people who belong to the upper middle class, the rich people, are referred to as bourgeois in this age. Next is monopoly. Monopoly means the exclusive right to do something. It could be exclusive right to manufacture, exclusive right to preserve, that's monopoly, trade or whatever. Next is Gomastas. Gomasta is an Indian word which means a middleman or an agent. Actually, when industrialization set in India, that is, we had certain mills and factories in India, then the workers were required, and the person who used to get workers for the industrialist and who seemed to be providing work to the people who did not have any work was called as a Gomasta. He was a very, very powerful person at that time who did various jobs besides providing employment to the unemployed. Sipahi. Sipahi again is a Hindi word meaning Sipahi. It means that the Indian soldiers who were recruited in the British army were called as Sipahi. So, we are going to see the age of industrialization in the world as well as in India in the following chapter. Now, I start with the chapter in the next clipping.